Hello, hello, my loves, and welcome to EQ with Jah. So, I talk a lot about logic and emotions and emotional intelligence, and I want to really try to bring them all into full spectrum of what this really means to obtain all three. It's important that we as humans learn to adapt to every single thing that happens to us emotionally first. When we learn how to adapt emotionally to our bodies, may it be a palpitating heart or our nerves all over the place or our body just shaking, that is the moment of saying that we, the soul, are recognizing that the body is going into a shutdown mode. It doesn't know what to do because we haven't prepared it for this moment. This is so important in a time of everything being now on the internet, social media, electronics, technology. This is the new world that we were already prepared for, and this is the new world where we're entering. But something that's happened that most people didn't realize would happen, which is when logic used to be that of didactic studies and getting it from a book or getting it from a scholar that was accredited somehow, that was then what we considered our logical arguments about something. And then we could go and sit down and emotionally prepare ourselves to debate a topic that we have logically studied, researched, and understand. This now in this new world is not the same, where people now they have all of this logical technology in their hand, but they can see something that is completely incorrect about not only the environment, somebody else's personality, their own vision of themselves through how they post pictures on social media. They're all in this distorted world of logical facts, but emotionally responding and reacting. Now, don't get me wrong, we're supposed to emotionally know how to respond to something, but the emotional reaction is the byproduct of us losing control of our feelings. And this happens a lot with people who tend to say, I think logically. Well, logically speaking, here's what I hear as a person who is completely empathetic and an empath towards other people's emotions instantly when I meet you. Because I have a connection to a life source that is greater than my own, I recognize when someone is using logic as what they call, I forgot what it's called, something behind the smoke or the filter, whatever. I can't think of the term. But, oh, smoke and mirrors, yeah. When that whole smoke or mirrors effect, when you might be logically smart, you might be logically intelligent, you might be logically able to listen to someone else and try to break down what you structurally hear based on what you were taught, again, through that didactic setting. But the emotionality exists still within that moment of rapport where you recognize that you're not emotionally listening to the other person and you're not emotionally listening to yourself. Because when you're able to hear someone speaking complete gibberish, but you see that emotionally they have so much in good intent, there's so much implied intent that you're like, okay, they really do have a good heart. They really are coming from a genuine place. They just are using a different set of words of understanding than I use, connected to this emotion. We have to remember as humans, every single word spoken is attached to someone else's emotional understanding. And now we're able to articulate it by understanding our cognitive reasoning, saying, this is a definition. This word means this. This symbolizes this. This represents this. This is what this means in this context when you feel this. Oh, now I know this is how I feel. So now my decision can be swayed to choose this option, this choice, or things related to me now being on the other side of what I did not know before. There is no such thing as logical intelligence without emotional intelligence first. This is important. Children know it right away. If I don't make a sound, a peep, oh, I love it, I have a quiet baby, but you also don't know if your baby's alive. It's probably good that your baby cries once in a while to let you know when it needs something. This is emotional intelligence. Until the baby learns how to conceptualize a word into a tone to speak what it needs, up until then, you're getting all emotions. And none of that goes away because we grow up and we know how to repeat words that we learn mean some type of whatever and have some type of power attached to some type of status that someone else created. Again, the whole linear system of it's either this or that is emotional. There is no, it's either this or that. That's an emotional moment of, I don't want to hear anything past your ridiculous understanding of what I have yet to comprehend. So it's either this or that. I can't go outside of this. This is what you're working with me. This is what a lot of people walk around doing and then expect others to know how to emotionally be vulnerable with them. Shutting down and shutting up and changing how you speak and how you act in order to appease somebody else's response or reaction is only hindering a further type of behavior that again becomes a temperament that we choose to apply in situations where we want to get over on people. I've watched plenty of people do it and I'm like, you ain't smooth. Oh, all of a sudden now in this moment where you feel like you're getting ganged up on because the logic you presented to try to diminish somebody else's emotional clarity, now that somebody else came back and said, actually, your information is wrong. Here's what this actually is, and here's the receipts to prove it. Now, emotionally, you all up in your feelings like, why are you being so mean? Because you weren't listening emotionally. I tell anyone who speaks to me, please speak to me with your emotions. Please be vulnerable. Do not speak to me with some logical way of trying to present yourself, because to me that's a mask and there's an expectation attached to that mask. And I personally, just meeting someone, did not ask to be a part of any old expectations and things that are holding you back and stagnating you from your growth because you choose to latch it on to others who are used to it. That's not me. That never will be me. And it's very important that we speak out our boundaries to people. This is why emotional intelligence is important, because it doesn't matter. We've seen plenty of things where people are talking about something and they're getting heated, and we know that this topic is not why they're arguing. We know it. As human beings, we sense it. We're like, they ain't arguing about this. This is about something else. And if you listen close enough, it doesn't even matter if you know the people or not. If you listen close enough to the way that people argue, it starts to tell you their narrative of how they were taught. Well, you're never here for this, and you'll never do this. Oh, okay, so they expect this. Okay. Well, they must have saw that with their mom and daddy, and now they expect this for the partner. Now, you can see it. You can see when someone throws a tantrum. Oh my gosh, when someone pouts as an adult, it is the most interesting thing to me. I'm like, you do realize that works on your parents, the person you doing, and whoever else is in your crew that needs that type of power of validation from you. Pouting with me don't work. I tell my cat all the time, you think because you cute, you go get your way. That work on somebody else. That don't work on me. I'm here to make sure that you lead the best, healthiest life possible, and that comes with being emotionally honest with myself and someone else. If I'm going to be in their world, I need you to know how I operate. If you're going to be in my world, you need to let me know how you're going to operate, because it helps each other get through that frustration, that headbutting moment of you're speaking to someone. You can be emotionally accurate as best you can be, talking on a topic where like, I don't know much about the topic, but here's how I feel. And I personally feel that this is what this is, and this is how it looks. And I just think it's important that people respect that. Somebody else can be like, well, logically, that's nice and all in theory, but this is the real world where we have to make cutthroat decisions, and here's the decision we have to make. That literally is a principle of a type of colony or community of people who decided that it has to be cutthroat to make it easier for them when they're doing transactions. Okay? Understand, transactions on all levels, may it be money or communicating with someone, is an exchange of goods. And if my transfer of energy is not matching up with yours, then that tells me where your head is. And if I'm speaking to you in a way that's loving and nurturing and caring and trying to understand where you're coming from, or trying to be gentle with my delivery, that's when another person who is also empathetic and enlightened will say, wow, okay, I think this is what I heard before, but now that you're speaking it out, let me try to understand better what I'm hearing. That's two emotionally intelligent and two emotionally logical people connecting what they feel and think into one collective thought that makes them go, oh, okay, now I can see the whole versus just the half. That's the moment of duality where you're just in the black or just in the white, and then bam, you connect two things you never thought, and you're like, oh, now I see the whole perspective, the whole view. This is again why it's so important. The ground view is just as important as the aerial view, but you have to compile them to get the full panoramic 3D view that you're wanting to experience so you can understand. And then that actually takes it to a 4D level because you get to look down. But it's again that experience of recognizing that you have to start thinking past just objectifying your own truth. That's what I'm trying to say. I was going to say trust, but truth and trust work. But you can't keep objectifying your own trust and truth by using other people's words, findings, discovery of themselves by expressing it into a text or something for you to study and use. Use that to teach you that, wow, another person wrote this. I'm capable of the same thing. Another person drew this. I'm capable of the same thing. That's how you activate the God in you. That's how you recognize, wow, my function is to logically understand the world and be able to repeat things back because it is helpful for communicating. But my purpose is to try to make sure that I'm emotionally connected to the logical things I'm saying because these logical decisions affect people's lives. And if I'm putting real emotion into these logical decisions, whatever outcome happens, it's all going to be backed up with love because I put emotional thinking into what I was actually doing. This is when, again, when we say good people and things line up for them just right, not about, again, the physical things that we attain, but about the way universe and people continue to speak about you even after your passing. This is the legacy that we want and speak of. There's some people, again, they're going to live in the polarity of, even if it's all dark energy, if they're being talked about, they're happy. And if they're in all white energy, they're happy. I'm right in the middle. There's dark stuff and there's light stuff. But I also know that I am able to logically see that my journey and story and my patience and my essence is able to be that for somebody else's soul at that time. That's why it's important to not react right away to something you hear because it's not about the reaction of the ego, it's about the reaction of the soul. And then the ego is able to respond in a way that's according to what's going to be your truth, which then becomes your trust when you're able to speak with somebody that's really listening to you versus talking to someone and they're like, and they're either only emotionally responding, which is all I'm trying to say is this, which is usually it goes right back to a selfish sounding person, which is why it's important to sometimes throw a few we's in there instead of just saying me or you, because it's very indicative to starting an argument. But it's going to be important to, again, we got to a place of understanding that here's what I hear of what we're trying to understand. And that's where I think it's important to embrace your emotions. Don't be afraid of them. Embrace your feelings. Remember, what you feel is a byproduct of the emotion. Because now at that point, you're starting to let it go. Because usually when the onset of emotion happens, it's uncomfortable. It's either you feel it like, oh, even when you're happy, it's a shock. Oh, a shock to the body is uncomfortable. It is something inside of the homeostasis of our being. So again, even if it doesn't seem like a big deal to us, when you feel that little bleep from your heart, it's like, oh my God, okay, look around. That's the antenna saying, pay attention. May it be physical, emotional, something. You're about to get a message and you need to be ready for it. And that's when you stop and listen and say, okay, now that I know how I feel, let me try to emotionally explain this. And you will have people who will gaslight you through the explaining of your emotions, and you let them, because all that person is doing is shutting down, and you see that they're not emotionally listening to you. And if they're not someone who's in your immediate tribe, then, let them go, be on their way. But if there's somebody that's in your tribe, that's when you take the time to say, hey, you know what? I love you, but I really need to know that you hear me when I'm speaking, as far as feeling the emotion of what I need versus logically responding to what you hear. Because it's more important in that moment that if someone's expressing something that you hear sounds like they're trying to, if someone's overly explaining, I always feel like that's a feeling. If someone's overly confident in an answer, that's clearly logical. Meet me in the middle. Meet me right in the middle of, don't overly explain, but at the same time, don't just logically answer and leave it at that. Meet me somewhere where you can say, hey, you know what? Here's how I feel. I don't have a response yet, but I'll get back to you. They both work. All right, guys, as always, I love you. I hope all my topics make sense, but again, they just come to me and I just put them out there. So if it aligns with you, great. If it doesn't, come back later. Maybe it'll come back to you then. Until then, as always, I love you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of all yourselves. not just your physical self, okay? Take care of that emotional body, take care of your spiritual body, take care of everything so that you can come into your full synergy of love. And then you know how to respond. Okay, that's all I got. Besos.